We are live. Helena, thank you.
Hello, everyone. We're excited to be today here and with these amazing people who are willing to share their expertise and knowledge about personal development and success. And we will briefly introduce ourselves and shortly about me. I am Elena. I'm founder and CEO of Mindset to Results, and I'm very passionate about helping driven entrepreneurs and business owners to achieve their audacious goals. And here with me are three gentlemen that also will introduce themselves shortly, and we will speak about one of the big ingredients of success formula, which is self-image, and how self-image controls everything in our life, our results. And the good news is that whatever self-image we have, we can change it. So let's start briefly from introducing other participants of our show. Daniel.
Well, thanks for joining us. My name is Daniel Tolson, and over the past decade, I've helped more than 25,000 leaders become better. I've also co-led a team of 17,500 cabin crew at Emirates Airline. I was a senior flight steward, and every day I got 17 new people that I didn't know that I had to get safely from one side of the world to the other in a $500 million aircraft and 400 customers. I've also been a former Australian champion athlete, competed at the Extreme Games, and a 3-time state champion wakeboarder. So my journey of leadership has gone from personal leadership, getting results for myself, and then showing others how to get results through people.
Thank you, Daniel. Amazing, amazing. I'm so honored to have you here on our show. Peter, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Peter Paul Parker. I put the Paul in so people don't confuse me with Spider-Man. I was a professional musician for about 10 years. I was actually in the sales world before that, and I realized I don't want to do this anymore because I was getting too many people telling me what I should be doing and what I shouldn't be doing. So I gave that all up, became a professional musician for about 10 years. I played with some big name acts. I released albums, toured across Europe and the UK. And then after that waned, the rock business waned. I turned to the mind, body, spirit arena where I became a Dharma master in the field of Qigong, where I've learned how to focus on my mind, my body, and my breathing as a practice. And I became a Qigong champion in 2016 when we went to Korea and we worked on, we did a competition on the art form of Qigong, and we won the international competition. And that inspired me to go on to set up the Bright Beings Academy and set up a charity called Brighter Living to help the elderly and help people who want to change their inner dialogue towards themselves and make themselves a better human being. Because I've noticed through my conditioning of being a salesman and other people's conditioning, we're all conditioned to be in a certain way, and humanity needs to change that because we're heading for a car crash. And I really feel passionate about that because human beings are amazing beings, but we're not actually showing our full potential, and that's what my passion is.
Thank you so much, Peter. Great to have you here today with us. Paul, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah. My name is Paul, and what I've been doing over the past, 4.5 years, is I've helped over 723 business coaches and counting. And what I've helped them to do is to monetize their LinkedIn network through a very, very clever combination of 3 AI tools, plus some very, very, very valuable email marketing strategies. And then what we've got to do is with these engage-based plans, we've driven them into a community. We're now using School. I don't know if you've heard of it, but we're using the School.com platform. And what it's sort of doing is it's empowering these people to make a positive change and to drive more high-value clients into their funnel, into their sales pipeline. So that's what I'm very passionate about doing.
Amazing, amazing. So we are professionals from very different backgrounds and different fields. And one common here is that we are very passionate to make this world a better place, because so many people, since I started podcast, and it was just was launched in April, and first videos I started posting in May. And within 4 months, we got 90,000 views. And within this time, I met so many amazing people. And because of this podcast, it was opportunity for me to meet Peter, to meet Paul, to meet Daniel, and other amazing people. And everybody was coming as a book with their life experience, with their knowledge. And this idea came to my mind that if we create this platform and become the force, like Tony Robbins says, I am the voice. Yes, I am the voice. Everybody has the voice. And when all people come together and everybody have the voice and teach the very important things in life, and everything starts from self-awareness, from understanding who you are, because we live in life most of the time according to the way how we were programmed. We are conditioned to think, feel, and act in a certain way, and this is what causes our results. That's why we decided today to start a series of events with the topic which is related to create new results by creating new self-image. And as Joe Dispenza said, that in order to create new reality, you have to become a new personality, because we cannot just achieve new results by being the same person. And most of the times, people look at other people and they think that other people are stars, like other people are successful. But when they think about themselves, they think that, no, that is not for me. This is not like how, like nobody in my family did that. Yes, so today we want to speak about self-image and how it was created, how it controls everything in your life. And the good news is that when you study yourself, when you understand who you are and what a huge potential you have, and you can learn also how to change self-image, how to write a new script of yourself. So let's go. Daniel, would you like to add to what I just said?
I was taking some notes as you were sharing those insights, and one of the profound things that I learned was from Harvard University. And Harvard University said that about 85% of the adult population claim to be emotionally aware. But the true reality is that only about 10 to 15% of them actually are. And so what that means for a lot of us is the first thing we have to do is we have to start with self-awareness. Who am I? How do I approach problems? How do I approach people? How do I approach the pace of the environment? How do I approach policy? Many years ago, as I mentioned before, I worked with Emirates Airline, and I was called to the cockpit. It's a very rare experience that you get to be in the cockpit for takeoff. And we were flying out of Dubai, and we're in a beautiful 777-300 wide-body aircraft, and we're flying all the way to San Francisco. And the captain said to me, he said, Daniel, what do you think would happen if this aircraft was just 1 degree off course every hour for the next 16 hours? I quickly do the calculation, maybe 16 degrees. So I said to him, 16 degrees? And he said, really? 16 degrees? He said, what do you think would happen? And I said, not much. It's 16 degrees. He said, Daniel, you're wrong. Now, when you hear the captain say, Daniel, you're wrong, you know you're going to get a lecture. He said, Daniel, we're traveling at 900 kilometers per hour. If we're 1 degree off course every hour for the next 16 hours, we are going to overshoot the runway by 600 miles. He says, what's 600 miles beyond California? I said, nothing, ocean. He said, that's right. We'll crash into the ocean and we'll all drown. And he said, if we fall short of the runway of California by 600 miles, we'll crash in the desert. He said, if you're just 1 degree off course for 16 hours, we're all dead. Now, I started to think about what that actually meant to me. And I reflected on my life, and I realized that sometimes on the 31st of December, I write down all of my goals. And then I realized by the 14th of January, I've approached Quitter's Day, and all those things that I was going to do, all those promises I made, I didn't follow through. And for me, my life in the past, maybe I was just a degree off every day for a whole year. And then what happens by the end of the year? It feels like you've done this complete circle. You've exerted a lot of energy, but nothing has come about. And you've just done a full circle and wasted a year. And that's the importance of self-awareness. You've got to understand your starting point. Where are you starting from? And that's an accurate self-assessment. So I think we've all got to accept the fact that there's so much to learn about ourselves. And through topics like emotional intelligence, if we just have a little learning, we can course correct and get back on the right track.
Yes. Anybody else want to share?
So why did you choose the date 31st of December?
Well, that would be the Christian calendar. I live in Taiwan, so we go via a different calendar here. And today's the Mid-Autumn Festival. We're halfway through autumn. So we operate under a different calendar here. But traditionally, a lot of my clients, they would follow the Anglo-European model of time. And
that's what we've been conditioned to accept, right? Because actually the new year, when it comes back to ancient cultures, the new year was actually in the spring, which actually makes sense, which is why it cycles like that. Everything is a cycle. Everything cycles like that. But what's happened is the Holy Roman Empire created this calendar. When you look at it, like November is 9, October is 8. It's all out of sync. So what's really weird is I find it fascinating to realize how much we've been conditioned to accept what we actually see in front of us. It's just a curious question.
Yeah, the Anglo-European clock works really good for things coming out of the Industrial Revolution.
Yes. You work 40 hours a day. You work 40 hours a day, Mr. Henry Ford. Yes.
We've got to start those factories on time before they shut the electricity down.
That's it.
It's interesting, Peter. I didn't understand models of time until I studied the work of Dr. Tad James. And in his work on timeline therapy, he was talking about Anglo-European time and Islamic time. They also talked about warm climates. So here in Taiwan, their time perception is very different to us in the West or in Europe. But
I teach Qigong to many Asian communities in here, and they get the concept of energy. They get this concept of cycles. They get the concept of this is not linear at all. This is all cyclical, which is what we're talking about when we get stuck in our self-image. We get stuck in a cycle and it just goes around and around and around. The same thing happens with our emotions, our emotional childhood wounds. When we get conditioned to protect ourselves in a certain way with our emotional childhood wounds, we go into a cycle, which is a protection mechanism, basically. So what we need to do is break from those cycles and actually forgive ourselves. And you cannot do that without being in a relaxed manner. Your body does not work properly in a relaxed manner. So with all this false information that we're fed, and we feel deep down inside that your intuition is saying, well, this isn't right. What is right? To find the truth is virtually impossible as far as I'm concerned. But what you can do is to relax the body so the body starts to work properly, so that your intuition starts to work properly as well. I find with all this conditioning that we've been through, it's really difficult to get the body to work properly, because we need to come out of that conditioning. We can use our intellect, sure. Great. Intellect cuts till there's nothing left. You start to use your right brain, you start to use your intuition. That's where the important stuff is. And that's what I find incredible about this world, of how much we've been conditioned to accept with what's coming into our inbox, and it gets full up and people just cannot accept anything outside of that because it seems like woo-woo or a bit different, when science is actually catching up now, and neuroscientists are catching up with what our ancients talked about in spiritual circles thousands of years ago. And I just find this a really exciting time to be alive, because human beings are starting to wake up and suddenly see, well, like you said, what am I? Who am I? What am I doing here? And it's your self-image, this veil that's put over across yourselves, which our ancestors called the Maya, the illusory world, that is really starting to inflect on that, and it's starting to come out, and people are starting to see that other people are not being authentic. I'm not saying anyone here isn't, but there's many people who are just cherry picking spiritual ideas. And then I can pick up book after book, the Surrender Experiment, all these books that come up that are cherry picking spiritual ideas, but they're not going as deep as I think they should be, which is you. You're an energetic being in a physical body. Actually, energetic, you're coming out of this physical body, and this is your manifestation into this physical world. And that is limitless. That energy is limitless, but we bring it down because our mind can only accept so much stuff. So I just find the conditioning, that's why I asked the question. I'm just interested to see what you thought, because it's really fascinating how much conditioning we are actually under and how much we can break that, which is why I broke the mold of me being a salesman. So I just thought, I can't deal with this. This is all so fake. People stealing my leads behind me, people doing all sorts of shonky stuff in the background. I could see them getting promoted in that shonky world that they were living in. And I just thought, I can't do this anymore, which is why I thought I was going to find integrity in the music business. What a mistake that was, because then I suddenly realized the record labels are coming in and taking your artistic nature away. And I got fed up with that in the end as well, because my drive inside of me was to try and get people to understand there's a lot more to human beings than we actually realize. When you look at documentaries like Superhuman and these people who can sort of project what is CIA programs where they were projecting their consciousness into areas and spying on Russia and things like that. I just think we got such an open field when it comes to human beings, but no, we're just down here thinking about this small stuff. And I just that's what I want. I want to break this conditioning, break everybody out of what we're thinking this is the right way to go, to actually be creative as human beings and create something that's good for everybody, not just good for individuals. And I think what you've done is amazing. You're helping people to become leaders, because we all should be leading our own life. I think it's really important.
I woke up early this morning, Peter, and I had acid reflux. And it was the first time I've had it in my life. And I'd been studying Chinese medicine for the past couple of months. And I thought to myself, it must be somewhere between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. in the morning. Now, before I even checked the phone, I knew the way that my body felt and the acid reflux, something was happening in my liver, because I'd eaten a Taiwanese sausage last night at the Mid-Autumn Festival, and it had a lot of rice wine in it. And I thought to myself, between 1 a.m. in the morning, if there's alcohol in the body, the liver gets agitated and it wakes you up because it can't process it. So I reached over, looked at my phone, 1:49. And a year ago, I would have never have made that connection. But now that I'm more harmonious to the circadian clock in my body and understanding Chinese medicine, I've now got a different angle of approach to how to deal with it. And yeah. I'm in a lucky position, Peter, where I live in Taiwan and I don't understand the language, but I've learned the culture.
Yeah, well, it's a completely different. It's free. It's free over there. So one of my friends, Walter Graham, was over there a couple of years ago, and he just can't believe the freedom over there and how wild it appears to us in the Western world, but how actually they're living like human beings. And there's not all these ailments that we have. It seems like what he saw, you probably know better than I do, and he does as well, because he was just a visitor. But there's not these ailments that we got in the West that they've got over there. They're freer. They're a lot more flowing. It's a flowing society, which is what energy is, which is what your self-image, what you are, is you're flowing massive energy that needs to expand. And these physical limitations that are put on us, making us anxious, stressed, thinking, I can't do this. And that's where I feel that human beings need to really, especially in the Western world, to come out of that, because like the inbox is too full. And we've been given information, like the information I saw the other day about they're talking about giving Ukraine ballistic missiles to shoot into the heart of Russia. I'm going, what are you talking about? This will start a third world war. To me, that is outrageous. We said we need to rectify this with peace. As far as I'm concerned, everything needs to be peaceful, because that's what we are. But when you say that to people, they go, oh yeah, well, but the Ukrainians need support. Oh, but the Russians need beaten back and all this kind of stuff. I'm going, you need to rectify this in peace. People are not really monitoring or seeing what's really going on in the world. It's like these other big things that happen, like the virus that came along, coronavirus, and everybody's told to go in their homes. No scientific proof. backing up that claim. There's no scientific proof that masks work. Actually, 95% ineffective and cause more problems in the lungs. And it's our acceptance to all of this garbage that's coming out of the Western world is just, to me, unbelievable. So it must be wonderful living in Thailand. I would love to be there because I love this food, but I am personally vegan myself. I would never ever put a dead animal. My stomach's not an animal grave. And since I've realized that when you eat food, it's light, because everything comes from the sun. Everything has light in it. So what has the best amount of light in it is your vegetables, which is what we grow out in the garden. And we grow probably about 50% of our food. So it comes from a natural soil that I've been working on for about several years. And you can pick it up and you can like rub it through your fingers. You go, this is food. This is life coming into me. And now, since we lost our poor 2 cats, we've got other animals coming in now. We've got little squirrels who are coming in. Oh, I'll have a bit of parsley, I'll have a bit of tomato, I'll have a bit of courgette. They're like having feasts of food. And that's, to me, is what it is to be a human being, because basically we're here to live. We're here to experience. And whatever experience that is different to everybody. And that is to do with your blueprint. And what I love about the Vedic text is they talk about the palm print. Because what happens when you're inseminated, you have this, I think it's called the zinc flash. It comes into the body. Something comes into the body and gives it a blueprint of why it becomes male, female, why it's becoming a being. And this, they call this, because every fingerprint and every palm print is individual. So they say this flash creates what you call your life path, and you can either stick to this, you can go around it, you can go over it, you can go under it, you can do whatever you want with it. So there's something when we come in to this body, as far as I'm concerned, that you are destined to do. Most people aren't even aware of that, and then most people have dreams when they're children, like I did. I wanted to be a rock and roll star, and sure enough, I got up there on stage in front of thousands of people striking my stuff, because I thought, this is what I want to do as a kid. And everybody laughed at me, but I did it. But most people are ignoring what their gut instinct is telling them, their intuition. And I think this is part of it, because you've got lots of palmists who are just rubbish. They talk a load of rubbish. But I met a palmist, and she was also an astrologer. And I said, well, do mine, because I wasn't interested in that at all when I met her about 30 years ago. But she was an astrologer and a homeopath for the British government. But she said, don't tell anybody that, but she's gone now, so it's okay to tell them that. So they were using this homeopathic medicine for themselves and then chucking this allopathic rubbish onto us. Not all of it's bad, but she was telling me that. But she got me to do this this astrology chart. And sure enough, it said about halfway through my life, you're going to come out of music and do something that's energetic. And it will be linked to music because it's vibration, sound and frequency, which is what we are. We're vibration, sound and frequency, and we choose what frequency we actually operate at. And I went, yeah, whatever. I was a rock musician at the time, drinking Jack Daniels like it was going out of fashion. And I just thought, yeah, energy, what are you talking about? Now, 30 years later, I can't believe what I'm doing in the way that I speak now. I can't believe the passion I've got for what human beings are and the energy that we have in our body. And I got to the point where I'm so fed up with our medical system. I actually managed to get a speech at the Care and Quality Commission in the Royal Society in London. I did like an hour's speech on energy healing, how the body works, how this all works, and how we can actually heal ourselves if we're given the right tools and the right terrain to actually do that. And I managed to get that, and I just walked away from that, and I just thought, you're on it again, Peter. You're doing this stuff again. You're turning people's heads. You're making them look. You're making them see things that they can't see. And to me, that's our job. Our job is to get people to see their self-image, get inside of themselves and say, look, wake up. You are a human being. You have so much potential and capacity in there. And like Eleanor said earlier, we look up at stars and go, oh, look at them. They are so amazing. I don't see that at all with any human being. I don't see that. I never have done. I think it's to me, I've met Bob Geldof, didn't like him very much. And I'll say that publicly. I'll say that to his face. I played with Thin Lizzy. I was a bass player for them when they were doing Phil Lynnott's tribute. And people like Suggs, Madness, I've met millions of musicians, brilliant, top musicians. I've never walked in there and go, oh, wow, you've done so much brilliant stuff. I'm just chatting to them like you should be. This is how we are as human beings. There's no hierarchy to our existence. What we are is servers. It's like a great example of that is a golfer dies and he's at the gates, pearly gates with St. Peter or whatever guardian the gates you want to believe in. And he said, you know, it's time. I've finished now my life. What am I going to do? He goes, well, you have a choice. You've lived like a life along the middle lines. And then you can either go to heaven or to hell. What do you choose? He goes, well, I don't know. Because I don't know what these things are like. So they go down to hell first. He said, well, okay, I'll check out hell first. And he sees all these people with 6-foot arms. And they've got this feast in front of them. But they're all starving and skinny and dilapidated because they can't eat. And they're trying to throw the food and they can't get it in their mouths. He goes, well, I don't fancy that. That doesn't look very good. What's going on there? So I go, well, let's check out heaven. And he sees the same table with the same people trying to pick the food up. But what they're doing is they're picking the food up and they're passing it to each other. So all of them are well fed, all of them are all healthy, all of them are wonderful. So to me, this existence as human beings is service to others. It's not service to self. And that is such an important point, because as soon as you start in business and you start to realize this is service to others and people need to have value in what I'm giving them, that is where I feel our self-image is. And that's where we get lost, because we get taught to compete, and we're taught to compete at a very, very early age. And I think that is wrong. I think it's important to compete, which is where some of these lunatics who try and stop competing in schools, I think that's wrong, because I think children should be allowed to play and get onto a sports field and say, this is where you compete. This is where you learn what competition is all about. This is where you collaborate. This is where we build for something that's good for everybody. And I love that expression from Hong Ik from Korea. They say, what is good for me is good for you too. And I just love that. I think it's amazing. I've gone on a bit too much.
Thank you, Peter. I understand this is the first hour such sort of event, and you already discussed like at least 10 topics, and then we can discuss them separately. Yes, so let's get back to the topic of our event today, that is self-image. Yes, and today Daniel told about the plane, and when we speak from the perception of self-image, we know that the plane have autopilot. Yes, so and how this autopilot works, the plane is controlled by cybernetic mechanism. Yes, this is a mechanism in animals and mechanism which controls behavior or the work of those mechanisms. And Daniel, as a pilot, knows that every time when the plane deviates from its destination, this cybernetic mechanism gets on and brings it back to the course. And we also know that the rocket 99% fails on the way to the moon. Yes, so every time when the rocket goes off course, the cybernetic mechanism brings it back on course. And this is how important to understand the self-image, how it is powerful. Because when we have that picture, that image about ourselves, it means that our actions, our results already been programmed. But it is like thermostat. If we set it for 18 degrees, whatever happens, the cold weather comes, the heat comes, it will correlate with the heating system, with cooling, and will get back. That's why so many people get frustrated, because they when they get older, they get more knowledge and they do less. Yes, and it is like they see others like people successful, they can do this, but for some reason they don't understand like why those people do this, why I cannot do. Even they can think that they can even might have like better education, more knowledge. They could read maybe hundreds of books and still they're not getting results, what they want to get. And the answer to this is self-image. Daniel, would you like to add to this? Because you are expert in this area.
Peter said something fascinating about selling before. And when I had my first sales career, my boss said to me, people get into sales because they're depressed and they get out because they're depressed. And I found that really, you've seen it before, Peter?
Yeah,
and I found
it's brilliant.
Really fascinating. And I was lucky at that stage at age 19. My boss taught me about having a self-concept. And he said, Daniel, at the moment, you're a blank slate. You're coming into real estate with a blank slate and you don't understand this territory. Now, ignorance is not a bad thing. Ignorance is a good thing, but he just brought it to my attention. And he said, for you to become a really good salesperson in real estate, you've got to do three things really well. You've got to be able to prospect, you've got to be able to present, and then you have to be able to close. He said, but you'll have to create a self-image in each of these three areas for you to succeed. Now, for you to create a self-image, there's three components to it. The first and the very most important part of a self-concept is what we call self-esteem. And self-esteem is how much you like yourself. Now, Peter, you'd remember from your selling days, you get people who are just really confident. They just really believed in themselves and they would go out and sell themselves. And people would say, wow, you're really enthusiastic about your product. Let me see what you got. So self-esteem is how much you like yourself. But confidence only gets you so far in selling. You can be really confident, but if you lack competence, you hit a brick wall. So the first thing we've got to do is we've got to develop self-esteem. That's how much we like ourselves. The second thing is we have to have a look at our self-image. Now, we can have a self-image by default, or we can have one by design. And if it's by design, it can be disastrous. I met a lady, she was very well educated. She grew up in a family of engineers, and her father would say at the dinner table, only uneducated people get into sales. Nobody in this family is a salesperson. Salespeople are at the bottom of the pyramid. We are educated. We're at the top. And the father would drill that into the family month after month, year after year. My client, one day, she got into sales. She didn't know what her self-image was, but she had this picture in her mind that salespeople were uneducated. They were not to be respected. They were not to be trusted. And her father had implanted a vision inside of her mind of what a salesperson was. So when she started to see people, she started to think, do people see me as inauthentic? Do people see me as somebody who's going to rip them off? Do people look at me like I'm somebody who's uneducated? Now, in terms of a self-image, that's not going to help you succeed in sales. That's going to hold you back. So the first thing is we have to design that self-image. So that's the second component. The third component is what we call our self-ideal. Our self-ideal is the person that we want to become in the future. If we were perfect in every single way in this core area of selling called prospecting, what would we look like? Peter talks about music. What would be the tone of our voice? What would be the feeling that we resonate when people meet us? One of the things I learned during COVID was that emotions are more contagious than COVID. And people can feel your emotions from a long way away. So what would you want to express as an emotion? And we have to sit down and we have to design that. Now, when I got into real estate, my boss gave me a blueprint of how I should feel about myself, how I should feel about myself in this marketplace. He said, this is what you need to focus on as being a salesperson. You work hard, you're authentic, and you have a creed, just like a doctor would have a creed. The doctor's creed is primum non nocere, never knowingly do harm.
That's changed now, isn't it? That's changed. Sorry to interrupt, but that's changed now. It's changed now. The doctors aren't like that now.
Well, the American model of being a doctor is a selling model. It's getting a commission for every sick person. And RFK, Robert F. Kennedy. Robert F. Kennedy said it the other day. He said the most profitable thing to the establishment, big medicine, is a sick child, because they're going to be a customer for life.
Cradle to grave. That's what they're doing. Yeah.
It's terrible. And so my boss showed me what it took to succeed. Now, I had very little experience. I went out and I looked at myself in a particular way. I used certain language because our entire body is always eavesdropping on our internal dialogue. And I had that template and I was able to succeed very quickly. And success leaves clues. And if you have a look at another successful person in your field and you model their self-concept, you should be able to get a similar result in a very short period of time. Maybe not exactly the same, but a very similar result. So they're the three parts: self-esteem, self-image, and self-ideal.
So what happened with me, it came from a slightly different direction, because I had all that sales training, which was all the AIDA, attention, interest, desire, action, all that kind of stuff. For my sales training, it was all really good stuff. I mean, I can't knock it because it was like a blueprint to where you could become as a salesman. But I wasn't one of these slick guys that go, yeah, how do I do? I was like, okay, well, let's look at your business. Let's see how we can get it better. And I loved that, because you're actually having a conversation with somebody that meant something. It always has to mean something with me. I'm not into this kind of fake facade sort of society that we live in. But what I loved about the training to become a Dharma master, and to be a Dharma master doesn't mean I've mastered it. It means I'm a master in training. I've made a devotion to say I'm going to keep working on myself to become the best human being that I possibly can. But what I loved about the way that they did it, this is kind of part of the Korean culture, is they don't tell you the blueprint. They let you figure it out for yourself while they guide you through the training. So what they were doing was literally building up your self-esteem. They were getting you to find your self-image, which is your true self. It's your true self, the self inside of you that actually wants to express itself in the world. And while you're doing this, you suddenly realize, actually, I can communicate. I've just stood in a room with 1,000 people who were all different nationalities, all of them at war in the Second World War. And I got them all at the end of my speech to stand up and all hug each other. Because I'm saying, resonate inside of yourself. Find it inside of yourself. That's your true self, your true essence, you. And a lot of people get confused with the concept of true self, because they think, well, what is my true self? They think it's the conditioned self. But no, all of this is conditioning. And when you get into your meditation practice deep enough and you shed all of this and you literally feel like you're losing your mind, which you are, you're coming into really your true self, and you're coming back and reprojecting yourself into this world, which is fascinating to me. And that's what I love about all of this, about self-image, because I realize people like Bob Proctor, all of them, they're talking from a very much a spiritual angle. All of them is incredible. And then when I worked that out, when I went on to marketing courses for online businesses and things like that, when I worked all of that out, I went, wow, yes, of course, you have to be yourself. There are guidelines that you take, but you have to be yourself, and you have to be happy and excited to actually do what you do. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Because I could sit there and go, well, yeah, I'm a Qigong instructor, and it's all right. It's all right. And no one's going to come to you. No one's going to come to you if you stand in front of a class and say that. But if you come in and say, well, listen to this. This is important because this is going to change your mindset on everything. Just open your mind a little bit while I'm speaking, and then you'll get something out of this. Because if you keep a closed mind, you won't get anything that I'm talking about. Because I'm going to push your concept of what life is right now. And then I'll go on to take on a class and get people to open up their body and feel lighter in their body, because you can as a human being. And I just find that fascinating. So I came from a slightly different angle where we were working on ourselves. And that built from the inside self-esteem, built confidence. It built a roadmap to say, okay, well, that doesn't work. What does work? What doesn't work? And when you're talking about ignorance, we live in the Vedic scripts of India. They talk about the cycles that we live in. And one of them is ignorance, passion, and goodness. So we can think we're living in the mode of goodness, but actually we come back around to the mode of ignorance. And then we get to the passion again, thinking, oh, yeah, I'm getting better at this. And you get into feeling like you're doing goodness, and then you come back around. So you're perpetually running around this cycle. What they call is the causal realm, which is what we're talking about, the true self or the self-image, the causal realm, where you're not acting in the mode of goodness or badness. What you're doing is you're observing something, and you're coming from the best place you possibly can for the good of all. And I just love that. I think it's brilliant, because I personally was like really wrapped up by the ego the size of the planet when I was a bass player. So I'm thinking, I'm the best bass player in the world and I could take anybody on. And yeah, sure enough, I did. And it was quite an aggressive side to me, which I didn't personally like. I prefer to be living in peace and more of a John Lennon fan than a Paul McCartney fan. But the point is, really, when you do come from your true self and you come from your self-image, a real authentic self-image, life opens up for you in different ways. And when you get to that vibration, you actually have conversations with people you would never think you would have conversations with. And that's what I love about all of this, is the journey inside. This is where my motto comes in: journey inwards, succeed outwards. But as soon as you start doing that and realizing, wow, I am this beautiful being. You are a beautiful being. You know, we're all beautiful beings together. What can we do to make this better for everybody? And we're a way away from that. But in this cycle that we're living in, which they call it the Kali Yuga in India, is we're coming out of a dark age into a golden age, which is about 30, 40 years. People will see how human beings are supposed to live on this planet, because the energy is changing. It's starting to actually manifest good things. And I think it's an exciting time to be alive, because we're seeing all these old institutions shaking, like you're saying, RFK speaking. Tulsi Gabbard is another amazing politician in America who's like talks sense, and she's just jumped from Democrat to Republican and going, whoa, that's a big change in morals. But I'm not either. I'm not left or right. It doesn't bother me. Whoever. I just want people to come into places of what should be organizing and orchestrating our society. I don't really see it as places of power, but they should be organizing and orchestrating our society for the best of everybody, not just the best for BlackRock and Vanguard and all these other companies that are sucking the money out of the world. So, yeah, my self-image was really ingrained in me when I was very young. My parents died when I was very young. When I was 11, my mother died. She was like my best friend. And my father died when I was 19. So I was kind of thrust out into this world as emotionally numb. And then I worked out all of this as I was going along. Then I decided to become a musician. And I thought, okay. And then luckily I found the mind, body, spirit arena with some brilliant masters and teachers that I've cherished the wisdom that they gave to me. And I cherish the wisdom you've given to us as well today. I think it's wonderful what you've been talking about. So we're growing together, right? And I think we're starting to evolve together as human beings to come out into this world to make it what we should be. Nature. This is our nature. Our self-image is our nature. Our true self is our nature. We're becoming detached from our natural way of being. We're not naturally warriors. We're not naturally fighters, but we've been conditioned to be like that. And in the UK, most definitely with the empire, we've still got the vibrations in our DNA that we were trained to be fighters. And that's just slowly coming out of the UK now. It's becoming a lot more passive and peaceful, which is wonderful. But this is how this energy seems to work. It seems to work on a mass scale. And I'm just finding it fascinating. Where are you from? Australia or New Zealand? Australia, is it?
Aussie born.
Aussie born.
I say to my children, I'm a banana. No, I say I'm an egg. I'm white on the outside and yellow on the inside. People say, how dare you say that? Well, my name is Daniel and they call me Dan. And in Taiwan, Dan sounds like egg. So it's okay. I'm an egg.
Oh, good man. Yeah. No, Australia's a wonderful country. I went there when I was 6 years of age. A beautiful country.
Beautiful place.
But we didn't stay there.
One of the differences here in Taiwan is that we really honor the gods. So we started to go live at around about 6 p.m. And my wife and my daughter, after we had dinner, we walked down to the local Turi Gong. Turi Gong is the old man of the land, the protector of the land. And we have these gods in all different areas. Like I'll walk down the street and I'll pass about 20 or 30 different gods protecting the land. And the values here, they still honor the gods. So it's the Turi Gong's birthday. My wife and daughter are down there praying for the Tutti Gong. And my wife said to me, "You better do some praying." And she gave me 3 of the burning sticks. And I said, "No, you can pray for me." She said, "Why?" And I said, "Because I'm talking to God all the time." So when we talk to the gods here, people get it. And if people want to make a decision about business or relationships, they consult the gods. They consult the oracles. They consult the fortune tellers. And nobody goes, "Oh my gosh, that's too mystic." It's like, you should go and ask the god for permission. You should go and ask one of the masters for some guidance. And if you want to get married to this person or start a business with that person, you should have a look at when they were born and what their star signs say. And if it's a match, work together. And if it's not a match, don't work together. But nobody will ever take offense to you saying, "I don't want to work with you because of our numerology and our planets don't align." They totally get it. They want what's best for everybody. Very similar.
Where do these gods come from, though? Where do the concepts of these gods come from? Do you know that?
Well, I can tell you it's in the blood.
It comes from the Vedas, the Vedic scripts of India, but it comes even further than that. It goes back to the Gnostics, where they said these are energy forces, like the energy of money. They call it turned into Ganesh. I don't know the Thailand gods, but it's Ganesh.
We're not Thailand. We're Taiwan.
Taiwan, sorry. It's Ganesh, right? It's the energy of money. Or you've got Shiva, the god. We call it the 6th chakra. It's the destroyer of the mind. You're destroying your mind so that you can see into the world properly. Or you've got Vishnu, the embracer. These are energy forces. It's like fire is an energy source, but it has different qualities to it, like it's embers, or it's a flame, or it can even go white when it's so hot, clear. And these are energy forces. And what our ancestors have done is turn these energy forces into gods, so it becomes easier for us to understand what they are. But basically, you're
metaphorical.
Yeah, you're praying to an energy source. So if you want more money, if you say, "I'm so happy and grateful that my business is running so well that I'm abundant and money flows to me like a river," some people would say you're praying to Ganesh, but what you're doing is you're praying for the flow of the universe to come into you so that your energy actually picks up more money as you put more energy out. It's the law of correspondence, the receiving and getting back of energy. And it's all about energy. It's all about frequency and vibration. And that's what I find fascinating about all of this. Because again, we get into these little cultural things of like, it's a god, it's a god, it's a god, because so we can put a perception in our minds of saying that is a god. But actually, it's just an energy source. That's all we are. We're an energy source. But we've created through this blueprint of this energy coming into the body that we are a human being. And that's where we got a little bit lost, unfortunately, because we starting to believe that we're the body when we're not actually the body. We're actually far deeper than that, which is what our true self is. I'm gonna have to go in a minute anyway, guys. So
Yes, me too. So we discussed so many different topics.
That's a beautiful discussion. It's lovely to meet you, Daniel. Anyway, and from Taiwan.
From Taiwan, our gods are a little bit different. They speak in Chinese. My children, being half Aussie, half Taiwanese, in the bloodline, in the genealogy, this information has been passed down through the bloodlines. And I watch it in my children that they have this knowingness about these gods, things that you can't learn from a book, but it's definitely passed down in the bloodline. So it's fascinating to just observe it as an Australian man.
Comes to the DNA.
New ideas and these concepts. Yep, right inside the DNA.
Yeah. It comes through. So this is where people also get confused inside of themselves. You've got your father's DNA, your mother's DNA coming into you. Also, you have your own individual true self energy coming into you. So you've got these 3 concepts that are coming into you as a young baby, and you're only in theta a brainwave for about 7 years. So you've got all this stuff happening inside you. No wonder you're sitting around going, what is this about? It's like really difficult for children, but it comes to the DNA. And when you connect more deeply with your DNA, then you can start to remember many things about yourself, I think, from past lives, which is what is taken out of the Bible about 500 AD, that reincarnation is no longer acceptable in Christianity, but in other religions and other cultural beliefs, reincarnation is a big thing. that you're actually going through these lives to learn and to make yourself better, refining yourself to become what Jesus called perfection, or what the Buddhists called the rainbow body of light, i.e. you're so perfect that you can squeeze through the eye hole of a needle because you've got rid of all this human baggage. I love that as well. I think that's amazing. So you're a lucky man living over there, but not with China. Having a look at your country and going,
It's a tasty country.
Yeah,
It's a tasty country.
So I wish you all
We'll
the best over there.
make sure we put out some good vibrations and the right musical notes, and
Peace.
we'll harmonize with them.
432 hertz.
We will.
Always works. Yeah. Chanting
We
is
will.
another amazing thing. Anyway, I've got to go because I've got a Qigong class I've got to go and take.
Thanks, Peter. Eleanor, thank you so much. Thanks for
Big love
hosting
to
us.
all of you. Give you a virtual hug.
Yes. Yes, so we want to just let's finalize how we started. Say, like, if people that we just started this series of events, and the first was just to make you aware about that you have that cybernetic mechanism, that self-image, which controls everything in your life. And this is time to write, as Daniel said, write your new script, and from the place where you want to be, and become that person who is aligned with the frequencies, which everything what you want already exists.
Thanks, Eleanor.
Amazing.
Yes.
Thanks, Peter.
Yeah, and I recently wrote a book which is called The Inner Alchemy. And in this book, I described the 6D method, like steps, which really important for person to get to that success and that transformation, and understand the ingredients of that process which should happen to close the gap between where we are now and where we want to be. And I prepared this the code that somebody who listened to us, you can scan this code and get this book as a gift for attending our event. So
Thank you, Eleanor. Thank you so much.
yes,
Marcel.
thank you so much for being today with us, and see you next time for our future
See you
event.
then.
Bye.